Welcome, Auvorians, to the Saturday forecast for the upcoming trade week of September 20th. I'd like to just do a quick sound check if we could, please, in the chat window. Let me know if you guys can hear me okay, see my screen, should see the risk disclosure PowerPoint slide. Welcome all. I have, much to maybe the happiness of my team, I have a new very high-end wireless headset and webcam, as well as a new microphone. So as far as shooting videos and going live from the office here, I've spent $500 in stuff, and I'm going to figure out how to work it in the next couple of days. So if there's any problems with this headset, just let me know. The Q&A window is open. So let me just read the risk disclosure here real quick and we'll get started. I know we have a lot of new subscribers in the Auvorian land, so welcome all. This is a call that I do every Saturday at 10 a.m., Tuesday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. My name is Steve Vetterl. I am the CMA of the firm. So, trading the foreign exchange market carries high risk and may not be suitable for all investors. Trading on margin and utilizing leverage can carry an even higher level of risk that can lead to a complete loss of investment funds. So before deciding to trade the foreign exchange markets, or really any markets, quite frankly, or using any of our software or alert products, you should carefully and diligently consider your personal investment objectives, level of experience, risk tolerance. And what I always say the most is whether you can afford to lose the money or not. Truly take a hard look at that. So if you're sharing any results from using Alexander or Iris, Einstein, any of the new softwares coming out, Variable, please do not use the term company recommended settings. Okay, so I could tell you guys that, and if anybody wants to see any links to this, I'm certainly happy to share it. But the Federal Trade Commission in the U.S. here has come out against a very big organization, Online Trading Academy, and really come down with some hard fines for them, and forcing them to sort of pay back a lot of subscribers, which may end up putting these guys out of business. So please make sure you're really spending the extra time and effort from a compliance perspective to make all the directors happy, and myself as well, by not going out there crazy. Do keep in mind that one of the big findings in the FTC's comments in the last week against OTA, Online Trading Academy, they're out of Irvine, California here, right around the corner from me. Most of it was due to unverifiable for performance results. So again, this is why I spend, along with our teams and hopefully everybody in the world that's a subscriber, an inordinate amount of time going through compliance, which I know seems rather laborious, but at the same time, it really puts down a strong foot that I think this organization needs to exercise in extreme discretion so we could avoid problems like what OTA is going through right now. Okay, so this is kind of why we use my FX books as well. So make sure you get those hooked up and verified, and do not make any false claims of performance. It could wreck the plan. So we do not have any recommended settings. We're not a financial advisory firm. We just license software the users can use however they want and at their own risk and discretion. Some software does come with default settings upon initial setup, which users have the ability to customize their settings however they want. Auvoria Prime has nothing to do with the customer's brokerage account. We don't solicit or take investments. We don't run money. We don't recommend any brokers. You can learn where the great brokers are from your up and down line. I do promise you that. We just license software, and most importantly, excellent education, which I'm about to go into this morning. So this is myself. Here's a picture of my little fatness here. I'm trying to lose some weight. That's the trading desk. Let's get out of here. We get into the system. So let's go into the Forex Factory calendar, which is what you should see on your screen now. So we've had a lot of people just recently join us. So welcome, guys. We're going through the forecast trade week for September 20th through 26th. I want everybody to take note, whatever you're doing, take a look at the screen right now. Don't be distracted by anything else. What do you see across the screen every single day next week? Powell testifying. See it? Every day. Okay, great. This is great, Steve. What's this mean for us? So when you have a out of the box type of presentation, this is mostly just going to be a C19 testifying in essentially every day. Treasury Mnuchin speaking. There's German flash manufactured PMI that could certainly be a decent one. I mean, there's literally something going on every single day. Governor Bailey's even speaking at the Bank of England, by the way, on Tuesday. So some of this is canned presentation. Some of this could just be completely off the rails as far as Q&A. So as some of you may have caught in a whiff, over the course of the last couple of months, China has renewed determination to dump both the dollar-denominated bonds and dollars. It's been a fairly developing crisis for the decline in the dollar. Okay, and I think that hopefully that gets, I don't know, I hope that's a question that gets asked to Powell. I hope he gives an honest answer, right? And I think it's important from a global macro money supply standpoint that we get some ideas on how big of a deal this could be if China's dumping dollar-denominated bonds. Because if they're continuing to dump, what's that doing to the pressure of the dollar? So push it down, right? It's the same thing as adding any kind of stimulus package. It's a devaluing event against the country's currency. So I think that it's going to be pretty critical that, if this is a developing crisis for America and Fed's monetary policy, it's certainly a situation that I've caught wind of talking to a couple of credit fund managers over the week that could threaten to escalate rapidly out of control before China's disposed of the bulk of all of the dollar-denominated bonds. So this is a DXY-based event. I don't know that the testimony next week is going to address this. I hope it does. I mean, we really need to get to the core root of all the problems that, in my opinion, China is causing across this planet. So let's take a look at the dollar. Here's the DXY. TradingView.com daily chart. Again, holding firm. We have been in a consolidation period for the vast majority, darn near 2 months at this point. So will we break from this coming next week? I don't know. I would just be high alert. Honestly, guys, and I rarely say this, even though the developers are trading next week, if I had a decent profit in my Einstein or Alexander accounts, and I wasn't in some sort of drawdown you may be trying to claw out of, hence, hint, 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 listen to last week's presentation from Saturday. Our special guest David was on. Go back and watch that. I'm not going to address a lot of questions for what David presented last week. I just encourage you all to watch his presentation. It's slightly different settings for Einstein and Alexander, but I digress. Next week, more than likely, if I was in a profit or a non-drawdown situation, I probably would turn off the trading system. Okay? If anybody has any questions on that, let me know. Okay? Now, I know there's some people going, oh, well, Steve, why and how? And look, I'm just telling you, we could definitely have some risk. It could certainly be a weekend that is fraught with risk next week. Okay? I could be dead wrong, guys. It could be a great week of trading. Right? But if you've had a decent summer, a lot of our systems, as you guys will certainly see this morning, if you haven't seen before, they've really pulled out of drawdown. It's been some hellacious moves in the currency markets over the last 4 months. Hell, the last 6 months has been bananas in some currencies looking at the last 2 years. Outside of small positions inside of Brexit, which has certainly thrown the great British pound into a flurry of movement. We'll talk about that as well. I think it's going to be important. So just taking a look at the DXY. And by the way, the one question looks like the computer went blank. That's not my screen, right? My screen you guys can still see? Okay, cool. Just want to make sure. Okay. Looks like it's on your end, Tony. I'm getting sound is good here on the chat window. So you can always leave the webinar, by the way, and come back if things are getting kind of screwy. There's a lot of pressure that's been put on Zoom, guys. There's a bazillion people on it these days. So my hat's off to the organization as to why it has done so exceptionally well in the face of major loads on their servers. It's probably the reason stocks quadrupled. Any case, so this is the dollar DXY. Let's take a look at the main currency. Again, Still stuck in the same range on the euro US dollar, right? Not going to get into too much more reads into this other than I think next week I'm on high alert. It's like a DEFCON 4 type week for me, right? Again, I could be dead wrong on this stuff. I'd rather have you guys safe than things going bananas again, right? So as many of the accounts for many of the folks I've looked at have significantly pulled out of drawdown and gone into a very profitable position, especially in some of them. Hats off to David and those that have presented the alternate settings. They're in a better position. So let's take a look at GBP USD. Again, notice we broke below the first support line, in my opinion, bounced off of the 200. Remember, this is just a simple MA, the green line. Now we're back to resistance, came back down. Not difficult to see support and resistance levels if you spend enough time looking at this. Again, all this is presented to just help you guys get a better understanding from just a very macro, big picture perspective on what's going on for the technical analysis of all these different currencies. Doesn't mean you need to learn this stuff. Doesn't mean you spend 2 or 3 hours on it. I just want you guys to learn to figure out just the most high-level stuff. And I know I pushed this TA on you a lot, but I think there is significant value in at least understanding these from a broad macro perspective. Right. Now, this is the power of wedge alerts, right? I talked a little bit about this wedge. Anytime you get a descending or an ascending wedge of any formation, especially with a dry up of volume, you can see we actually broke from that wedge. Now, again, I think China doing dastardly deeds underneath of our noses has really put some pressure on dollar-denominated assets, and certainly the yen is one of them in a big way. So we've seen it fall back down to what arguably is a pretty decent support level. I probably should draw a line here. Maybe not the best line. Let's move this line, start again. There we go. Why do I draw these lines and show this stuff? Because if you're in drawdown in Einstein or Alexander, you certainly don't have to take certain trades. You don't have to accept everything. You can be a little more outside of the box and not accept certain stuff. I'm not saying step in front of the software. One thing I will tell you guys is this. This is my trade tracker channel. For those of you that do not or have not subscribed to this, which I highly suggest that everybody do, I put in last week a detailed explanation, which I actually had a number of our big traders and directors look at before I posted this. But I put in a very detailed explanation of what to do in Einstein and Alexander as far as turning off and or closing out certain types of trades. As many of you know, I have held off for quite a while in doing this because it is basically us saying we're smarter than the software. But I do understand there's certain times, this has been the case in June and some of the other bananas moves we've seen in the last 7 months, where you want to have the ability to make some changes. So I want everybody to go subscribe to the channel. If you don't know where the link to this channel is, you can go to the back office of AuvoriaPrime.com, log in, choose your product. You can see, if you scroll all the way to the bottom, all the Telegram channels that you should subscribe to for all of the different EA coaches out there, whether it's myself, Cameron, and Daze. I think all those channels should be subscribed to, in my opinion. But please read this in detail, and this will help you if you do want to get out some stuff. I can answer a lot of questions on that, guys, so just bear with me 1 second here. A bunch of questions that showed up. All right. so Euro JPY. There's a level of support right in here. I know I'm going to get a lot of questions, and I was just reading through a few right now. They're going to be related to, well, I'm in drawdown on this, so I turn this currency off, so I turn that. Just go to my Telegram channel and read what I just posted. Was it yesterday? Yeah, I just posted yesterday. Also, by the way, on my Telegram channel, I just posted, I think, the day before, the master links to the archives on Vimeo, which is our corporate YouTube channel. And you guys can see actually all of the presentations. Obviously, tell your entire group to watch last Saturday if they want to learn about some additional settings. Again, these aren't Auvoria Prime sanctioned settings. This is something that I am presenting from an expert. We've had a couple of them in the last 6 or 7 months that have put forth some tremendous effort in making additional changes to it. But as I've told everybody, including our up and down line guys and our team, it's important to understand we have other pieces of software and a much deeper product bench coming out that is not going to require this level of intensity. Okay. So stay tuned, and everybody's sort of like hanging on. I would listen to the corporate update call. Sal puts one out every Thursday. This one's give a fair amount of details on the release of other pieces of software and sort of what's going on inside the company. But do understand that all the onboarding videos, everybody's working on that pretty hard. I'm probably sort of the bad boy on the list for turning in my videos late, but I'll take the blame for that. The onboarding is going to be just absolutely fantastic as far as really herding the masses of our Auvorians into the right education, in my opinion, even though some of the software that we have up and down the road is going to require a lot less effort. So GBP NZD, again, we're sort of hanging on here. Let's bring this up on the screen. I personally, if you're trading this, guys, next week, God love you. But if you do, just understand this is the cliff right here. This is it. We get below this, I have no idea what GBP NZD is going to do. More than likely, it is going to get down and blast 8 billion stops off below this thing. It could run major chunk of pips, all right? So just understand that. Again, I could be wrong. I probably would not be trading this next week. You know, I think next week's enough of a risk from the calendar perspective. If you haven't seen the calendar here, it's just forexfactory.com. You click on the little green thing here, just make the red folders live, get rid of the other ones, click apply filter, and boom, there's your list. I think this is enough of some craziness that probably would have the systems off next week. Okay, that's it for that. Let's go into some questions. And as you guys take a look at the MyFX books first, let's do that. Here's our big conservative account here. Let me just log in here. Bear with me a second. Okay, so this account's really pulling out some great stuff here. I'm bringing this back into the screen. So this is the double verified. Again, this is something that is important. We are proving that what we are showing here is not a pile of BS. It is a verified track record. But this is our this is our euro-denominated live account with Einstein. This is running on the conservative settings, 0.01 per 3K. We just posited a little under 24,300 bucks in this account. We pulled out roughly 3,700 in profits, and we are at 25K. So accounts actually had a pretty darn good last couple of months. We'll take this, especially for ultra conservative settings. As you guys can see, the account right now is in about a 750 position drawdown. But the beauty of this is look at the drawdown here. Hasn't really been that bad, right? I mean, hell, some of the drawdowns we've seen in some of the other Einstein settings, which have been a lot more crazier than this in some cases, this looks pretty damn good, I'll tell you. And I'll tell you, some of the other Right here. Let me double check this. If you guys aren't seeing this screen, let me just refresh. How about that? You see it now? Yeah, the traders are trading this next week. I don't know why, because I'm not, guys. Just so you know, I got a bunch of client review meetings, so all my software is going to be off. Just so you know, demo accounts I don't ever turn off. You know, I just keep them running. Just helps build the data, right? It's the key with demos. But as far as the big money live accounts we have, they're actually going to be off next week. This will be too. This account. All right. I don't really want to get too much in this. You guys have the links to this stuff. Let's get into some Q&A. All right. You're welcome. Thanks for all your help, Steve. Jeez, look at that. Some nice comments. Carrying over to next week, an 8% drawdown on EJ and UJ. Would you add EU next week, considering all the red folders? JPY is too strong. You see it going down, new leadership in Japan. Not sure about the new leadership in Japan being that big of a deal as the underlying pinnings of China's movements through the liquidation of dollar-denominated stuff, including our bonds. I think that's the big theme of next week we want to pay attention to, which certainly can affect the JPY in many, many ways, not only from an import-export, but certainly from just the movements in the currencies related to that as well. But what else do I want to show? Oh, here's the summary. I know I don't really show this much, guys. Do keep in mind that, again, with most of our stuff, this is the case with a lot of the variable expert advisor that's coming out, our new algo. Much of the profits are coming from Euro USD, right? This one's been the beast in this situation. This currency is not in David's settings that were presented last week. Okay, it's just these two. Even for some of the bigger accounts, it's just running two pairs. So the question's always asked, well, do you want to bring in an uncorrelated pair? You know, that's something I actually haven't seen a lot of data on. So I wouldn't make any comments on that until I've seen some significant data on that. And this is where I'm going to sort of let the developers of the other four pieces of software that are coming into play. I'm going to let those guys steer the ship on that. Eventually, I'll know which pairs are good. But that right now, I do not know. All right. Where is the VWAP training? Ha, ha, ha. Yeah, now, Damien, if you want, it's something like the VWAP, which needs to be anchored to certain types of movements on a chart, either up or down. That is a very complex concept to teach. I don't know that I would bring that into mass, because if you don't have the right software, it's tough to anchor VWAPs. I have 4 levels of more drawdown on both buy and sells of Euro US dollars, and 4 levels drawdown with USD JPY buy, and 2 levels down on sell. Shall I just let this off? Yeah. So again, Elizabeth, you asked this question to me a lot. You know, I love your persistence. I think you're trying to get me to step in front of the software with this question I get from you every week. So the question I'll ask you, Elizabeth, did you see David's presentation last week? Are you thinking of making changes to with new demo accounts, new live, so forth? You know, so that really is something you want to take a look at. Again, guys, if you're in drawdown, you certainly can reduce risk by doing what I say in my Telegram channel. You know, the detailed breakdown of making changes to the software, turning things off or what have you, forcing stop outs. But then again, you're stepping in front of it, and in my opinion, you're saying, hey, I'm smarter than the software, right? I have presented it. This has been a couple of ideas that have been suggested by a few of our leaders, and I put it all together and posted it on Telegram, but I'm hesitant to do it. Let's just say that. All right. Anything else? By the way, I seem to get a lot of questions about Telegram. The Telegram link, guys, it's in the back office. Back office. Do you guys know how to get to the back office? Please type in, yes, we do, Steve. We know. We know exactly how to get into the back office. So once you click on your product, You just go all the way to the bottom and a link to the Telegram channels in there. Now, why do I do that? I do that because I want you guys to be in the habit of going into the back office. If I just post it in the chat room here, it doesn't force you guys to go through the process, right? Can't you see I'm sort of trying to change behavior, changing behavior for the better, removing the laziness from everything that we all do, right? The less lazy we are, I promise you, the more money that you will make. There is direct correlation between level of effort and profit. And if you don't believe me, give it a shot over the next month. You will be like, hey, damn, that Steve had a novel idea. So, all right. So if that is it for questions, a new question. I'm in drawdown in a demo account, no profit last week. Initial account balance is 2 G's. Balance is now 1916. By the way, anonymous, that's not bad. Would you suggest following the system to run next week? Not in a demo. I would run all the time because it's a demo. Okay, and I'm going to talk about this when I shoot this demo versus live video, which is part of the onboarding. The bottom line, guys, is the demo's like a dress rehearsal, right? Have you ever seen a play where all the kids came out and screwed the entire play up? You know, I know that sounds terrible, right? But you guys have seen it, right? You know, as parents in the audience, as I wasn't, my kids are like, why didn't they do more of a dress rehearsal, right? Instead of coming out and looking like knuckleheads. So the dress rehearsal is important in the same thing in demo, right? Why do you think teams practice before their games? It's the same thing. So when you set up a demo, you're practicing different settings. Now, granted, some of the software down the road doesn't really require lots of adjustments to settings, but I still think it's important to run a demo, right? I would say that almost damn near 90% of the emails that came into me over the last 4 or 5 months that have said something like, hey, Steve, I'm in drawdown. I have live money. I didn't really want to lose this money. And I came back to them and I said, did you run a demo? Almost unequivocally, the answer was no. Guys, I have no sympathy for you if that happens, okay? Sorry. The 2 questions here on last week's video. Yeah, good stuff. Different. That's what I love about it. We will always promise to do you guys different. So drawdown always would allow the system runs to answer the question. Okay. MT4 question on just the platform. I'm not logged into it right now. David, if you're asking questions like balance, equity, and margin, that tells me that you have not been through a Days A. Duncan's Forex Basics course. So have you been through that course? And please be honest with your answer to me. Because if the answer is no, that's where you need to start. It's really good stuff, okay? Back office provides education. Yep. You know, I'll tell you guys, it's really quite sad, and I'm going to blame some of your guys' leaders on your teams because the way I'm seeing some of these questions coming in, you guys are being brought into Auvoria. And again, this is one reason we're doing the whole onboarding thing is it sort of forces you to go through these types of modules. But your leaders are doing you guys a disservice with some of these questions I'm getting. You need to go back to your leaders and say, hey, I shouldn't have had to ask this question to Steve. You didn't even tell me about, because I've gotten already 6 questions on this, and people didn't even know there was the back office education, right? So this is obviously why we're going to do this. And, you know, we want to make sure, I mean, keep in mind, guys, you know, at some point we're going to have 100,000 subscribers. I mean, these are going to be bananas numbers, which is great, obviously, right? But it is just imperative that we can sort of herd the masses through a specific system that's going to give them education, and they're going to be forced to go through this. And I love it, right? As draconian as that sounds, this will absolutely help the team. I promise you. So make sure you communicate what we're going to be doing as a corporation in a positive light, because even a lot of people are like, I got to go through this and I'm already an expert trader. Tough. There's probably stuff that you'll pick up on that are really going to help you as far as nuggets. All right, what else we got here? Nuggets are always good. Heck, I even picked up a bunch of nuggets in today's A's course. You know, the correlations between different levels of margin. Heck, I needed a refresher on that stuff, I'll tell you. All right, so the Telegram channel, we got that addressed. we got everything taken care of in, let's just show the other, here's the 3K high volatility account. Now, what's the great thing about this account, guys? It's taking a long time, but what's the great thing about this? We are basically flat. Look at that, right? So for those who ye of little faith, over the last, because we took some hits in this account. See this? I mean, look at these hits, right? Now, ideally, this account was turned off for some periods of time. It's probably my mistake as well. I didn't have some of the correct settings on it for about a week or two. We had some problems with integration, so I'll take the blame for all that. But account is in $200 in drawdown right now, and we've climbed back out. So that's what you want to see. Even though the settings, in my opinion, probably can be better, hence why we brought David on last week. It did pull itself out. All right, guys, half an hour. I usually do an hour. Doing a half an hour this week. Don't hate me. Send me an email if you guys have any questions. svederal@auvoriaprime.com. Make sure your questions have a live and verified MyFX book. Make sure you're communicating to the masses out there, and any new subscribers, please do not make up performance, okay? We could get our teeth kicked in by the FTC on this with major fines and the shutdown of our business. So I want you guys to think long and hard about that. I sound like the attorney on the call this week, and for that I apologize, but I'm trying to shake some trees, if you will, of things and some bad behaviors that I've kind of seen, right? So I'll do all the yelling for the compliance team because, I don't have a problem being the bad guy. As I always joke with my wife at parties, make Steve the bad guy. All right, guys, so be safe. Have a great week. May the trades be with you. My name is Steve Vetterl.